It's all word of mouth. Like Auckland's small. If you can do a good job on one job, they have a friend that knows someone in their building. So pretty quickly your reputation is out there, and it's like, oh, this guy does a great job. You got to use him. So I think it's like a combination of everything. But the word of mouth is the most powerful tool.
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch other people about it.
Hey guys, before we kick off this episode, I just want to thank our content partners. You guys know it, Abodo, for supporting the Better Builder podcast. Now, I've actually firsthand heard from a lot of builders who love working with Abodo timbers. Over the last 20 years, they've perfected the art of thermally modifying New Zealand radiata. Now, that just means there's no chemicals on there. They pretty much just use steam and heat to modify the timber. So what does that mean? It's great on the tools, it's super light, it's durable and stable, which we know helps deliver a great end result for your clients. Good job, Abodo. Now, let's get this episode rolling. Matt Farrell, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's been good to catch up, and great. We just had a coffee and discussed a few different aspects of some of the builders we want to get on. Yeah. So no, that'd be good, man. So you've come recommended by I think Troy talked about you, and I think Henry Dunham, he talked about you as well, and so a few guys said that you should come on. So you must be doing something right.
I hope so.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's good, man. So tell me a little bit about your background. So where are you from? Are you from Auckland? You're from around here? Or?
Auckland, yeah. Glendowie originally. I started my apprenticeship straight out of school when I was 17. And I was working for a guy called Peter Bockett, which is Bockett Builders.
Yeah.
And I worked for him for 5 years. I started on $8 an hour, which is, all my mates were still at school at that point. I thought I was absolutely nailing it, killing it. When I first got my first sort of couple of paychecks, and you're like, oh, okay, I've got some money now. And it's probably $250 a week or something, like it was, once tax is cleared, yeah, it was great. But yeah, we worked on some amazing places with him. And we did some, pretty horrendous jobs as well. But, he gave me a good insight into building, very good builder, very old school, great techniques. So cool. Yeah, we've done some fantastic homes with him. Okay, so you kind of got in with him, but before then, you mentioned, I think you mentioned before we had a coffee, you mentioned you went to King's College in Auckland. Yeah. So I'm a grammar boy, so yeah. Let's not hold that against each other. Leave that till after the podcast. Yeah. Car park. Yeah, that's it. So what was that like? Who were you in high school? Like, who was Matt in high school? Just quite sporty, basketball, rugby, cricket, and rowing. So, Matt probably wasn't the smartest at academic side, but practical-minded and sporting sort of got me through school, and I left in the start of 7th form. Yeah, time was up. And what was that like? Because you go to King's. Is King's private? It's private school, right? Yeah. And so you leave a private school, say you're going to go do building. What was the thought around that? What did the teachers think? What did your friends think? What did your parents think? Teachers were all supportive of it. Probably could see the direction that I needed to head. Friends were like, "Well, okay, he's leaving," so that was it's good. And had another friend leave at the same time, so that was okay. And it was actually my dad's idea. I actually wanted to be a mechanic, and he's like, "You don't want to be a mechanic, mate." Can't think of enough for that now. Nothing against mechanics. It's just that would have worn off. I reckon we're building sort of stuck, and I've kind of really enjoyed it and stuck with it. I was like, okay. He's like, asked me, would you think about a building apprenticeship? I was like, oh yeah, maybe. So I'll ask you in a week's time. And a week later, he came to me and he's like, what do you think about the building apprenticeship? I was like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, I like that idea. And I said, oh, can I leave school? He goes, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. So that's awesome. So your dad saw the light and he could kind of see ahead, in terms of how beneficial it could be for you to do that and in line with your strengths and what you
could be good at rather than the academic stuff, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, his dad, my granddad, was an engineer, and they were always tinkering, the two of them. I think my dad actually wanted to be a builder, but he was an accountant, so I think he was probably trying to relive his youth, or
Yeah.
It's
funny, Yeah, my dad was he inherited a farm from my granddad, so he was pushed into farming, but he also always wanted to be an engineer as well. Still talks about it to this day, and he later on in life he went into became a refrigeration engineer for more in line with that. But it's funny, so then it's kind of good that he had the foresight to kind of put you into that rather than, because I guess from when you come from a private school, because I just remember from grammar and stuff, you normally get pushed into the doctor and the lawyer and the professional kind of roles.
You do. I mean, it's not for every kid. There's a lot of people from private schools that have worked for us over the years as well. And that was I needed to go into a practical, trade basically. So maybe he picked up on that early on. At 17 years old, you don't really know who you're going to be or where you're going to end up. But there was a bit of a direction there, and I headed down that path, and I've continued that path. Now, a few years later.
Yeah,
quite a few years later.
Yeah, good on your dad for seeing that. Okay, so you went then to join the builder. What was his name again?
Peter Bockett.
Peter Brockett, yeah. So you join him, and then you start your apprenticeship there?
Yeah, straight away, yeah. And so he was part of Ferrari Club, so we'd work on all these nice houses, and everyone that we worked, every house that we worked on, everyone always had a Ferrari, most of them. Of course. Yeah, so...
that's pretty good. That's kind of a good lead generation method, right? You work your way up to a point where you get yourself a Ferrari, and then you join the club, and then you have a building business that services that.
I mean, he was just basically buying himself work. It was great. So he does a fun run on a Sunday, talks to a few of his Ferrari friends, and basically we were in and we're doing building their houses. One in particular was 3-year build. It was just colossal. It was 1,000 square meters, all curved, lots of stone, just lots of detail. It was a big home, and that took up a massive chunk of my apprenticeship. But I was fortunate enough to have probably 2.5 years experience before we started that build, or say 2 years, of renovation work and actually learning all the tools, because you get on a big job like that as an apprentice, it's actually no good. You want to be doing bathrooms, you want to be doing decks, you want to be doing little extensions and kind of learn that way rather than a big architectural build. You want to do that further down your career when you actually know how to put pieces together.
Yeah. And so why is that? So is it just because there's a lot more intricacies involved in a little reno versus a new build? You're just sort of learning one element at a time, and you sort of don't get a cross.
Yeah, it's like a repetition thing.
Yeah.
So if you're doing one big architectural build compared to say 5 decks, you're going to probably learn how to build a deck, a lot quicker, or you're going to learn how to do a bathroom a lot quicker if you're doing say 5 bathrooms. Where if you're doing a big house, you could be framing one bathroom and then you're just framing for a year basically, and some of the builds.
Yeah. Now that makes sense.
It's got all the aspects in it. So you have framing and lining and all the finishing work and setting out. So
yeah.
And
so what was that first day like as an apprentice on site? What was the sort of culture of the team?
It was just me and him. So it was,
really?
yeah.
That's cool.
It was all right. Yes. We were working in Mount Roskill, and we were building a carport, and he handed me this crappy old spade and goes, "Here you go. You've got 6 holes to dig, 1,200 meters deep. 1,200 mils deep. Sorry. Off you go." And it was just rock, compacted metal. It's just took me took 3 or 4 days to dig these holes through the rock and everything. So yeah.
And then what did the classroom look pretty enticing at that point, or go back, or what did you think?
Nah, not really. I was happy to be outside. I think he was trying to break me, but no, I just sort of got through it.
That's awesome. He couldn't break you.
No.
Okay. So, and then did you get qualified with him, or how did that process run?
Qualified with him, and then worked with him for about a year or 2 after that. Would have been about a year and a half, and then I went and worked with I thought I'd try the project management route. So I went to Unitech and did a course of construction management, and then I joined. Had a friend working for Hawkins at the time.
Oh yeah.
And then he said, "Oh, how would you like to sort of come under our umbrella and work on the art gallery, which is an amazing building. It's great." So
Yeah. Auckland Art Gallery.
yeah,
Yeah. It's amazing.
It was been about 2007, 2008. Residential was getting a bit quiet, and we weren't too busy. So I thought, and a decent pay rise came with it. So yeah, okay, I'll give that a go. So I did that for a year and a half. And that was pretty interesting. And, I was just put under a wing of a site manager. So me and him we were the main contractor and we'd just organise all the builders. But commercials, like that kind of building is completely different to what I'd come from. So it was quite frustrating just watching a lot of the commercial builders sort of just make mistakes and not doing things right. But, it wasn't my role. My role was sort of like to oversee it and set things out for them, and then you basically walk away at that point.
Yeah. It's very interesting, because that is a very highly detailed kind of, there's a lot of finishes inside and that. It's quite detailed. So it is, even though it's a commercial build, there's a lot of the high-end residential skill set probably would have crossed over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's an amazing building. There's just a lot to it. Lots of components, heaps of curves, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, the big cowrie pod ceilings. So you're sort of like me and the other guy I was working with, Dutch guy. We're in charge of sort of all the builders, installing all the ceiling components.
Some of the best part of the building is the
ceilings.
ceilings.
I mean, it's pretty amazing architecture, beautiful building.
Yeah.
So, fortunate enough to work on a commercial building like that, and just watching it with pace. Like it's just they just move so quickly. There'd be like 300 people on site. Everything is happening. Every corner of the building, is moving, which is cool to see.
Yeah, that's very cool. So you gave your boss like a year and a half, couple of years. What are your thoughts on that? I know there's been a lot of chatter around, with apprentices asking, do you owe your boss, when you do your apprenticeship through him, do you owe him like a year, a couple of years? Like, what are your sort of thoughts on that?
Look, you never know. You never want them to leave, but you can kind of understand it, isn't it? It's like them going to university and then going to look for a job. It's like you've trained them. I mean, the main reasons why they want to leave is travel, maybe. Maybe they're searching for more money, so that's an obvious one. Someone down the road might give them, the last few years, probably not now, but might have given them an extra $5, $10 an hour or something. But yeah, I mean, look, it happens. It's just how it sort of unfolds.
Yeah, and then you did a stint in the UK, right? And then after that, did you head off, do some travelling, or how did you?
So we travelled 6 months prior to, arriving in London. Kind of spent most of our savings. Me and my wife now. We had a really good time, which was awesome. And over there, I was just doing commercial office fit outs, and I was sort of just running those jobs, which was great. Because we renovated 2 buildings, both on the same block. Used the same subcontractors for every floor, so it was just like rinse and repeat. The first one was a bit of a headache. Once I got my head around it, it was okay, and then we moved to the next floor. Then we same again. And then we moved to the building next door. So same architect as well. So it was nothing new. It was great. It was perfect.
Yeah, and I think a lot of a few guys that's come on the podcast. I think James from JMC, and obviously Henry Dunham. I'm forgetting about another maybe, but there's been a few that's gone to the UK, did the same thing, do a bit of travel, work out there. How did you find it over there in terms of like the building industry, the quality, that sort of thing? Yeah,
quality. I didn't see any of the residential side of it. So we were just commercial, but builders, we didn't really have too many builders. We had like dry liners putting up petitions and just doing, big empty spaces with toilets and, bathrooms and showers and things. Plumbers were outstanding. They were really good. We had really good plumbers and sparkies. Plasterers were really good, and painters were good as well. I mean, their trades were really, pretty sharp. It was a great place to sort of work, and if the ability to be able to travel from London is amazing. You jump on a train and jump on a plane for a couple of hours and you're in another country. And if I wasn't doing that in the weekend, I was working, because you'd work to say 8 to 1 o'clock and get full days pay. Sundays like double pay. So I was just trying to crank out as much as I could so I could travel more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I head over to Croatia or something for the weekend or something. It's pretty crazy how you could do that. About 12% of our audience is based in the UK.
Oh, really?
So shout out to those guys. No, it must be awesome living there, being so close to so many different countries. You can just dip off or take a train or a flight. That's pretty cool. Okay. So then you came back. So now you've had experience there. You've had experience with the art gallery rather. You've done your project management course. So now you're almost like a different animal, in terms of your experience. So did you come back and straight away start your own thing?
We came back for a friend's wedding and had intentions to go back. And my dad again just I want some, I want to extend the deck at home. I want to do my new driveway. And so I was like, I could probably do that while I'm here waiting for this wedding to come up. We'd come back in January and is treated as a bit of a working holiday. So I did those, both those jobs for him. And then a friend's mum was like, can you come and fix my leak? And so I did that, and then that turned into a bit of a bigger job. And then someone else, rang up and was like, can you come and do this? And, it was something minor. So all of a sudden you start to, people kind of understand that you're a builder and, he's back, can you come and do this for me? I was like, this is actually going all right. I'm enjoying it. Auckland's great again. But I'm really enjoying being back on the tools, working for myself. And then you had another good friend that we've done a lot of work together, and he now runs his own building company as well. And we kind of partnered and worked alongside each other. So that was really good. And then decided to form my company, Intact. And we landed a job, I think it was sort of kitchen, bathroom, deck, and then it sort of took off from there. And the first year was easy. It was great. It was just working with a friend and a labourer. It was, who was a builder, really good builder. It was awesome.
And you were running your own thing, and it must have been pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. It was good. Yeah.
Okay, so then you obviously you kind of built yourself up. So how long did it take you before you sort of got your first real chunky project?
We did one in Wheretaua. So me and this friend that there's a couple that we work with, went down to Wheretaua, and we gutted a house and a decent extension and converted a garage into a sleep out, which is probably, let's just say it's like 6 or 7 months work. So I guess that was like the first chunky one. I know it's not in Auckland, but at least it was quite good, telling people, this is what we can do, and showcasing that. So, just a couple of pictures, and describing it to future clients. And then the second year we parted ways with, a friend went on, he got a decent renovation, he took on an apprentice, and then I did the same. And we just had lots of little bathrooms and decks, and, it was just sort of rinse and repeat for sort of the next year and a half. And then we got a decent job, which would have been in 2015. In Mount Eden.
Yeah.
And that's probably where we kind of really took off, I guess, from there. And I just needed to grow the team, so I slowly grew it up to that point, knowing it was coming up. So I had about 6 months to plan for it. And we worked for like a woman there that was sort of like a developer, but she would buy her own home, and then, we put a big extension on it and pool and move the villa, it was just really interesting and really good, and she was just driving us hard, so I learnt an awful lot from her.
Yeah. And how much did your project management, studies help towards these things? Anything at all? Is it?
I think it definitely did. It dealt dealing with people and when to point them in a direction and how far to push them, I guess. A lot of it just comes with on-site experience, so I think that's the most beneficial factor in that scenario.
Yeah, more experience rather than just the theory, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can't learn how to, every situation at a university, it's just not the way it works, really. You've got to be practical based and put into perspective as well, and just on the spot thinking. So I think that just sort of came with like an age, maturity, and then just dealing with it on site and every day.
How because it sounds to me like you grew quite slow and steady.
Yeah.
And a lot of builders that I've talked to recently have sort of, talked about the positive aspect of sort of going slow and steady. And what are your thoughts on that? Some builders come out, guns blazing, and hire a bunch of teams, a bunch of youths running around and stuff, and that's good as well if that works out. But what are your sort of point of view in terms of young guys coming out, starting their own business?
Yeah, I think slow and steady is definitely the way. You just learn so much, and you've got to be a sponge. You've got to absorb it all. Learn from every build, even learn from your clients. I'm constantly learning from our clients that we're working for, engineers. There's so much to it. Every house is different, and just being active and being across everything. So that slow and steady is crucial in my eyes.
Yeah, it's important to be a sponge. I feel like what's your thoughts on continual learning, continual education, learning new skills, upskilling in terms of business and the building side in order to be successful? Yeah,
it's super important. Like you should be learning on every job, in my eyes. Every job you should be learning. Just it doesn't have to be much, but it should just be something. Whether you'd learn from like all your subcontractors as well. So as long as like it just creates interest as well. It's probably what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah. Well, this is a curiosity, right? Yeah. Curiosity factor. You're learning new things, and it's like there's some excitement to that as well. And I guess some personalities would just sort of think they get qualified, and then they know, and they don't have to sort of keep upskilling.
But I mean, look, it's not for everybody. But I think if you want to run a building company, you need to be able to sort of adapt to different scenarios. So if you've learned how to do something in a certain way, then adapt that to your current scenario or future one, or something coming up, something in the past. You bring in all this info, and then you'll know how to deal with any situation moving forward.
Yeah. What are some of the different aspects of being a qualified builder versus someone that runs your own business? What are some of the skill sets that you're going to have to pick up along the way?
I think that dealing with people and dealing with subcontractors, and you as yourself running like a building site, know how you kind of want it done. You've already basically told the subcontractor or people that work for you how to basically do it, and they'll try and convince you to do it a different way. But I feel that deep down inside, you trust your gut, and you kind of you've already done it, mentally in your head, and I think it's very sort of important.
Yeah, for sure. What's your company structure, like your team, and do you have office staff and qualified versus unqualified? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so we've got site foreman, manager. So we've got one on each side. What have we got? Yeah, so we've got one basically on each site, two on one in particular, and then we've just got an office staff that sort of does the invoicing and payroll and all that kind of thing.
Right. So how many guys have you got all up?
Currently 16.
Okay.
And then she's in the office. My wife helps out a bit as well. So
cool. Yeah. And is it like 16 running two? How many projects?
We've got two, and then one smaller job currently. Okay. Yeah.
And what type of projects do you guys generally work on?
Just try and target like a large home. Yeah. So anything from about a year build to 2 year build, really.
Yeah.
One of our projects at the moment is 18 months, and one's about 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So
when you have those projects, I guess it makes it easier to plan ahead and be able to be across everything rather than running around the whole time on smaller projects, right? So it's quite nice.
Yeah. I mean, it cuts out the a little bit of admin if you're on a larger job. Lots of moving targets and things to plan if you're on a smaller job, and keeping guys busy. But yeah.
So with intact construction, what sort of makes you guys different, if any?
In terms of what, us as a builder, or
Yeah, like what sort of sets you apart from others? Not in terms of like selling yourself or selling the business, but just in how do you sort of feel? What sort of special approach do you guys have?
just we're there, keen to do a good job. We're young, got good energy, good morale on site, and just try and paint a picture where everybody gets along quite well. And just offer like a really good, clean, swift service.
Yeah, and so in terms of the team morale, how do you cultivate that sort of good culture in the team? You reckon?
Yeah, you got to have a couple of events each year. So you have your Christmas party, and then one of my guys calls it a winter ball. Yeah, so
love it.
We'll have that coming up. But yeah, it's just a time for everyone to get together, because you could go on one of our sites, and some of the guys haven't met each other because they've started partway through, or, one's left, for instance, and then, they kind of need to all merge together and meet each other. So, try and have a couple of, get-togethers each year, maybe every couple of months, go and have a couple of beers or something at Swashbucklers. It's always a good meeting, halfway point for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing like a winter's ball, to kind of bring the boys together.
Whether
dress up
whether it's a dinner out or paintball or I don't know, just an activity. We've done that Zorb balling, and which is good fun. So they do the full run it straight at each other.
Get all the frustration out.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
This is for leaving your tools around.
Yeah, that's it. It's good fun, and man, it's pretty tiring. So yeah, whether it's that or we did archery tag, paintball, it's good. Nice to do an activity, and then go out for dinner or something with them all.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's probably nothing harder than managing people. I mean, some people comes to them naturally, but for most of us doesn't, right? And you need to develop leadership skills as a boss.
Yeah.
Or as a leader. What are sort of leadership skills that you've had to develop over time, and what have you learned about what it is to be a good leader versus not a good one?
Well, look, hopefully I'm a good leader. Like, you can't really answer that question yourself, can you? But I guess just sort of being forward, direct, making sure that you kind of listen as well, and you take things on board. I mean, everything needs to adapt. Like, a lot of my guys have got really good ideas on how to do things. So, that's a good leadership quality, is listening in, maybe grabbing something that they've said, someone else has said, and then your own ideas and merging them all together. And there's just, being a voice and saying, hey, look, this is what we need to get done today, and just having like that prep talk. Yeah.
Yeah, to sort of keep that communication flowing, make sure everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And then listening, that's a good one. How's that changed over the last sort of 10 years, 20 years, in terms of like how a team runs versus say 15 years ago?
Yeah, I guess as you mature, you kind of develop those skills, naturally. So, we've been going 10 years. So 11 years. So if you asked me that 11 years ago, it would be completely different to what I would run and say now. Just because you've basically aged and kind of understand it a lot better. Yeah.
What are the biggest challenges you're facing at the moment in the current market?
Yeah, just keeping workflow in front of us. Line up another job after we've completed these two, and just getting people to commit to working, commit to their build. Sorry, yeah.
It's been a lot of sort of can being kicked down the road type of thing, eh?
Yeah. Projects. Just a bit hesitant and. I mean, which is great. Which is not hesitant because it's like of what's happening in the environment and the market and a lot of the industries.
Yeah, so. It's understandable, eh? But it's still frustrating a little bit for planning ahead.
Yeah.
How do you get work? A lot of builders look at say your type of projects. And you work on some beautiful projects, and 18-month build, 2-year builds, and so on. How have you sort of got yourself to a point where attracted those type of projects? Have they come through clients, referrals? Have they come through architects? Is it about building relationships with an architect? What's your sort of approach in terms of finding new work?
Yeah, I mean, it's all word of mouth. Like Auckland's small. And I think, if you can do a good job on one job, they have a friend that knows someone in their building. So, I mean, pretty quickly your reputation is out there, and it's like, oh, this guy does a great job, you got to use him. And then you have a meeting with them, and sure enough, they're using such and such architect, and then this person's using the same architect coincidentally. So I think it's like a combination of everything. But the word of mouth is the most powerful tool. Like we haven't really advertised. We've only just launched a website about 2 to 3 months ago.
Right.
Which is more of like a portfolio just to showcase what we've done. And it's not all on there, but it's, at least something to start from. So I think, in terms of reputation is just crucial. And just like we've spoken about before, it's just go slow and steady and just learn the process, and how a building company works and functions.
Yeah, I looked at your website. We were talking about it before. Your that in-situ home that you built. It's your own home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful home. What was some of the challenges in terms of like doing that whole in-situ house? Was it quite challenging, or was it actually fine?
Yeah, thanks. It was challenging. I love working with concrete. It's such a great material. Challenging in a way that like I'm paying for it all. So it's you got to go fast. But I just planned that out of my head. So I had about a year to kind of think about how it all worked and how it all went together. So you treat it like it's your own project. It's you treat it differently. So you kind of built it in your head before you've actually built it in practice. And there's a lot of things that you can't build, obviously, but the best thing was just I was able to just be so across just every part of it. So there wasn't like anything too difficult about it. Like it's quite a simple form. Like it was a pretty simple-ish design. The early stages in setting out all the concrete was probably the most like challenging. And once that was over, it was just basically putting the rest of it back together. Yeah. The best thing about the in-situ concrete is all done first and it's all finished. So you're just basically framing into it and cladding into it. And it's all just basically, sub-trades from there.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's definitely like a cool way of building. We had like Ross Bannon on recently as well. It's obviously the concretologist.
Yeah.
And he was sort of talking about all those aspects as well. Just like building with concrete is actually kind of it's definitely like a cool way of building and seeing those beautiful walls come out. You know what I mean? It's cool.
It's good fun. Yeah, I do like it. I mean, you have your day where you pour and it's all over in a couple of hours.
Yeah,
so, it's it can be quite stressful and you get quite nervous. Like I was pretty nervous for one of our pours at home when we were doing that, and once it's over, it's like okay, it's all in, and then you go like okay, that's done. It's like I wonder what it's going to look like. You just have to wait a couple of days, and then you get a good reveal.
That's awesome, eh? It comes out nice, and then
not always, but
got to fix it up.
Yeah.
What sort of numbers in your business do you sort of keep an eye on? You know what I mean? There's a lot of business owners have come through here. They sort of focus on different elements. But what's sort of the most important numbers for you to kind of make sure that the things are tracking as they should?
Numbers as in staff numbers, financial numbers?
Yeah, any numbers like in terms of, I was sort of referring to financials, but it could be staff and...
Yeah. Look, always conscious of how many guys you got on site. The labour bill. Can creep up there quite quickly on the bigger builds as well. If you've got, say, 7-8 guys on site, you got to make sure that, smoko's only a certain time. Everyone works from the start to finish. So, that's crucial. So our building labour, we're across all of that. So that's a pretty crucial number. Also, like your suppliers, so making sure that you're getting charged the same timber rates for every invoice and you're not getting overcharged for certain things. Just last week you had placemakers, charge us 4 times for one fire that we bought. So yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're not across that, you can miss those things.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to be
easily.
pretty careful.
And how good are you at doing your back costing?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've got a good Excel sort of spreadsheet now, and our office lady inputs all the data into that. So yeah, we're constantly tracking that throughout our jobs.
Right, and you do use mostly spreadsheets?
Yeah,
for all of that?
Yeah. We've tried the softwares and they haven't really done everything we wanted to. So Excel is just as good. You've just got to adapt it to your own.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, you got to, at the end of the day, whatever you're using is best, right? It's better to do your back costing using a spreadsheet than not do it at all because, you're using a software that you don't understand or it's too complicated.
Yeah, well, it's only as good as the data that you put in. And if
Exactly.
and you need to create time to put that in, and so that's what she's there for. So boys relay to her, and so do I.
What's some of the biggest sort of lessons that you've learned over the years from running your own business?
Probably just try and keep momentum, on a job. As soon as the job loses momentum, it's hard to kind of pick it back up. Whether that's a design change or, let's just use a weather delay for something. Let's just say you have a week of rain. It kind of loses its momentum a little bit. I mean, design change is obviously the biggest one. Like a few of our jobs have had a full amendment, and then you leave site for 3 or 4 weeks, and then you say, it's a maybe, it's this, and we're waiting for this answer. And I think when you're running a job, it's just try and keep the momentum flowing, so constantly.
And what are sort of ways that's helped for you? So because of weather, because of the amendment, 3 or 4 weeks not on site. Now what? How do you kind of get that kick the momentum back into gear?
Yeah, it's tricky, I guess. And it's different for every job and every scenario. So I guess you've just got to have a bit of a site meeting, site toolbox with the guys, and get them going, get them happy, get them excited about the job again. And I guess it's just decisiveness, which is not always in your control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of drives you, Matt? Like, what gets you up in the morning and get the juices flowing?
I get up, and most mornings just a bit of a quick gym session, and the kids drive you, don't they? Spoiling them is probably the biggest driver. Being fast forward maybe 10 years time, if I can not work as much as you are now, great, and spend more time with them, watching their sport and things. Not that I don't see them now, but it's I guess they're the main driver.
Yeah.
Just look at their little faces and go, yeah, that's why I'm here and that's what I'm doing.
And how do you navigate that family life? You know what I mean? It's stressful at work, and now you come home and you got your girls there and your boy there, and how do you sort of navigate that and transition, making sure that you're present with them?
Yeah, I just try not to bring it home. Like I just try and block everything out. Like that's I'm pretty good at that. I think sort of getting sweaty and getting stuck in the morning helps in a big way. It just sort of clears your head a little bit. I think it's a great way to start the day, get your body moving, and just try not to bring your problems home. And I'm pretty good at that. Not touch wood, haven't had too many problems. So, yeah.
So your wife's an architect, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So how hard is it to not come home and talk about aspects that your wife will understand what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really discuss my jobs with her too much. Discuss like sort of future plans, and I like this picture, we should do that on the next build, or I like this or that, and it's only it's not all building and architecture chat at home.
You get a bit over it after a while.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of other things to talk about. Kids have got homework, kids have got sports, so we're constantly busy. We're doing things. Every night of the week we've got something on with the kids.
Yeah.
So there's not really too much time to talk about stuff like that, to be honest.
That's good. It's probably a good thing. What are some habits or routines that you've kind of implemented over the years? And sometimes those things just come naturally, almost even without thinking about it. But what are sort of things that have contributed to your success if you're looking at some routines or habits?
Yeah, I guess it's just drive and work ethic. I get wind the clock back, and my boss that I did my apprenticeship with, I mean, he had a really good work ethic, so it was kind of drummed into me. And it probably goes actually further back from that, and that was at school. I was a rower at school, so it was sort of like early mornings, races. So it's sort of like work ethic. So that's what it comes down to, and it was implemented at a young age.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the rowers, back at grammar. Rowers really hard workers, Like, you had to really like redline yourself all the time and be used to being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, so uncomfortable. It's bloody horrible.
Yeah, I know. I'd always just look at them and be like, why are you doing that to yourself? Seeing them on the rowing machines or whatever, training away. It's almost similar to like, you look at wrestlers and stuff like that as well. Like it's a very similar mentality. Like they redline themselves, they super fit, and there's like a bit of a mentality in them that's a bit different, eh?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I was young, so it's probably different to like an older generation rower. But yeah, I mean, that's where it starts from. And they do, like you said, they redline themselves. They really push themselves to the limit, and you're taught to do that. A race is 2,000 kilometres, so it's not a massive amount of time, but you can still get right up in that red line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did the rowing, what any other aspects that the sport of rowing has sort of helped you transition to being a better business owner?
Yeah, I don't think it's just rowing. I think it's just sport in general. So you're part of a team. I've got a team now that work for us, and they happen to be builders. It's almost like a sport, I guess. I guess I've just put on the captain's hat every now and again.
And everyone's got their own role, and everyone's got different strengths, and you just got to like bring the best out of everyone, right?
Yeah. I think you compare it to a rugby team. You've got forwards and you've got backs. On a rainy day, the boys are part of the forward pack, and they've got to get stuck in, put their raincoat on, and on a nice day, they're in the back line and they're all passing. So that's great.
So you're on the tools?
Not really. I'd like to be, but my tool belt's on and I'm just measuring things. At least it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just measuring things, making sure the guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing and everything's...
Yeah, just set out. I think if you've got your tool belt on and you're thinking differently, you're engaged. You're a bit more engaged.
Yeah. Is there like a mindset thing, like as soon as the belt comes on, now you're shifting?
It must be, yeah. Yeah, you shifted mindset. Engage, yeah.
Yeah. It's, so you're not on the tools at all, really. So do you miss being on the tools? We had a lot of builders that sort of, their the number one goal is to get off the tools so they could run the team. And then you have other builders, like Lee Shane from a couple of weeks ago, he was just like, no, mate, I'll never be off the tools. What's sort of your thoughts on it?
I really enjoy the tools. They're great. It's good fun. It's good fun mucking them with the guys, You can do things fast, or even just teaching your apprentices. I think they really appreciate you as the leader, as the boss, putting on your tools. And then if you can spend a couple of hours working with them and showing them how to do, something in particular, then that's great. It's really beneficial for the company.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be all day. It does, it could just be a couple of hours. If you can spare that, once or twice a week, or once a fortnight, whatever your time frame allows, I think that's beneficial.
Yeah. 100%. It's probably even like good for your mental health, sometimes to just snap out of like the office stuff and just sort of like get stuck in with your hands.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think if you can set some time aside, it really, really good for your mental health, like you said. You always, if you spend a full day on the tools, your probably body will be hating you because you're a bit out of practice. But, especially because I'm a tool guy. So, but look, it's, you always have a good fun day when you're on the tools.
Yeah. How do you, I was going to ask you before, but like, how much time do you like spend with like apprentices and stuff, or do you have more your senior guys train those guys up?
No, I spend more my time with the senior guys, I like to sort of coach the apprentices every now and again, but probably not as much as I do. But yeah, most of the time now it's the senior guys and, working alongside them.
Yeah.
Whether that's just on the tools for an hour, let's say, or, just going over like what's coming up, who we need to book in, who needs this or that. So most of my time's spent with them on site.
And how do you, when you look at your apprentices, do they generally, they're going through their bookwork and stuff. Do you sort of guys encourage them to do their bookwork ahead of time so that they can sort of see what's coming up and be well versed on that, or is it sort of more reactive, or what's that process like?
I just always say relate it to what we're doing on site. So if you're cladding, look up the cladding component, figure out how that works. Always hand them the spec sheet that you get from say Hermpack or Rosenfield, like there's shiplap cladding, or here's bevelback weatherboard, or like a framing guide. Go and read brands, because it's just it's what you can relate to it. So what you're doing practically is what you should be studying. And try and pick up those components for your next visit from BCITO or Builders Academy or whatever it may be. Yeah,
it's because it's so much more fun to do the bookwork if it's actually relatable to what you're going to be doing on site than just sort of doing the theory on its own.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say what's fun for them and what's not, but
probably none of it's.
But
fun.
Like at least they might be able to pick it up a bit quicker and understand it. So it's super important.
What's the process been like with the BCITO and has it been pretty good out there in terms of training the apprentices? I'm not well versed in what the process is like these days and getting the apprentices up to speed.
Yeah, the BCITO have been really good so far, and then we had one apprentice recently who's just on a bit of a sabbatical, and he started up with Builders Academy. So I was looking forward to kind of comparing the two.
Yeah.
But unfortunately he's gone back to like the film industry, earning quite a lot of money, a lot more than as an apprentice. I can't really compare the two at the moment. But BCITO have been good. We've had, been lucky to have, pretty reasonable assessors.
Yeah, and I think it is a little bit hit and miss with which assessor you get.
Yeah.
Or officers, as they call themselves sometimes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely.
And so I think with with Builders Academy, I think their point of difference, among others, things have been that they turn up more often. So I think they come maybe 6 to 8 weeks.
More regular visits.
More regular. And if you have more
half the price too.
Right.
So their fees are half the price of BCITO, so that's good.
Okay.
And they just seemed a bit more engaging than BCITO.
It's like anything, as soon as you have, firstly, it's good when they come more regularly, right? Because then the builder sort of learning a small amount of work at a time versus like it can get probably overwhelming when they try to learn a massive amount, if they come less regularly. So that's quite good. But then the other part as well is like, it's always good when there's competitors in the market, because it keeps everyone honest all of a sudden.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're the only player, then it's probably not a good thing. So in terms of the apprentices, like, are they the ones that are coming through? What are your thoughts on them in general? Like the younger guys coming through, do they have a different mentality than sort of 10 years ago, or is it sort of very similar? What are your thoughts?
I think most of my apprentices that I've got now are either they're a bit older, so this is they're not fresh out of school. This is their second career or third career. We've had quite a few adult apprentices, where 10 years ago we had, quite young, fresh apprentices, quite green. So, they were a bit soft. And I mean, this generation is probably a bit softer than ours when we were apprentices. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's just more options out there, right? So they could do a lot of easier work and make more money in the short term, not necessarily in the long term, but in the short term.
Yeah.
You can do some drop shipping or something, make way more money than go dig holes.
Yeah. Exactly. And they probably haven't thought about building either at that point. So, yeah.
Things don't always go to plan. We've just come through, that COVID period when material prices went through the roof and it was hard to get certain materials like jib and whatnot. How did you sort of deal with that when things sort of went awry and things sort of went wrong? How do you sort of like manage all that?
Yeah, I guess yes, we're fortunate enough that our jobs are of certain time frame, so at the time we were doing nothing sort of under 9 months, I guess. So you've got time to plan. So, in 6 months' time, I know I need my jib delivery. So you book it well in advance. And you just need to be onto it with your timing. We never had too many issues with getting like timber supply. We've got like a small storage space, which we were keeping some lengths of timber there. So we'd buy that for the extension of the house, and then we'd just pull it out as we need it to on site because the site was really tight.
Yeah.
So we didn't find too many issues. Cladding was quite a big one. We waited quite a long time for cladding, so we had to shrink wrap a place just to start the interiors. So you just adapt differently, but yeah, with that adaptation, it came with like a little bit of a cost. At the time, most of our old clients were pretty understanding about that, so they kind of realised, hey, look, we know the time that we're building. It's not the easiest, so you guys just if it costs a little bit extra, that's kind of okay.
Yeah. Do you ever get stressed out? You seem like quite like a calm guy.
No, now and then, but not really. Good, cool, calm, and collective.
That's good though. Like I feel like any good builder, especially if you're pouring a lot of concrete and all that stuff as well, you sort of gotta really remain calm and it helps to kind of keep the heart rate down, right?
Yeah. Just don't let it get to you. Like the sun shines tomorrow, so it's don't let it get to you. Don't bottle it up. But if you do need to talk to someone, then you can. So
yeah. What's sort of the hardest time you went through as a business owner?
Probably my second year. First year was just smooth sailing. It was easy. Second year was just it was quite tricky. Just had taken on one apprentice, and then it felt like it was proper staff. Where the first year was just like me and a friend and a labourer, and we were having a good time. This felt like a bit more official. Just lots of small little jobs. So yeah, the second year was probably the most difficult one. Just
like staff management and
just getting work and consistent flow. Just trying to work every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was probably the trickiest one. And then building that reputation like we spoke about before, and just building that up, and so it gets you your next job.
Yeah.
Because such and such knows that person, and they want something done. So.
What are who are some of the people that have had the sort of most influence on your life in terms of like your thinking now and the way that you approach it?
There'd be so many. Yeah. You just take a small snippet from everybody really. I guess you have like building mentors and sporting mentors. So there wouldn't be that one person. I think you'd struggle to name everybody. You'd really have to think about like, every aspect, but yeah, there'd be a lot that have sort of influenced my life.
I've got some rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
Time's gone really fast.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool.
Are you happy for me to run through some of those?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, far away.
Awesome, man. So, Matt, how big is your team?
15.
15.
Yeah.
What's your crew mix?
We've got 4 apprentices, 1 labourer, and 10 qualified builders, I guess. Yeah.
Cool. How many projects did you complete last year?
2, possibly 2. Yeah.
Yeah. You got big projects.
Yeah.
What was your turnover? Under 1 mil, 1 to 3 mil, 3 to 5 mil, 5 to 10 mil, 10 mil plus?
Probably 3 to 5.
What's the lowest gross profit margin building company should be aiming for?
Pass.
Free quote or paid quote?
Free.
QS or price yourself?
Both.
Project management software or spreadsheets?
Spreadsheets.
Texting or talking on the phone?
Both.
EV or petrol head?
Petrol.
I would rather have a beer with my architect, subby or engineer.
Architect.
Classic rock or hip hop?
Hip hop.
Oh, okay. What's the hip hop? Here we go.
Yeah. Oh.
Any particular hip hop?
Did you say rock or classic rock?
I said classic rock.
Oh, classic rock. Oh, probably both. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Bit of hip hop.
Bit of hip hop.
Bit of hip hop's always good,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
Get things going.
Yeah.
Jock or hippie?
Actually, jock.
Wine or whiskey?
Whiskey.
Makita, DeWalt or Milwaukee?
Yeah, Makita.
Renovate or knock down and build new?
It depends on the site. That's a trick question, yeah.
These days, apprentices are A, soft, B, open-minded, C, hard workers.
Soft.
Quick answer. Are you too mean or too nice to your staff?
Too nice.
You have to be honest with this one. What's your most used emoji?
Probably just the thumbs up.
Easy.
Yeah.
Are you an extrovert or introvert?
Extra.
What's your favorite hobby?
I'm going to say fishing.
What's one item you can't live without?
Probably a fishing rod. Yeah.
Nice. Do you think more about the past or about the future?
Future.
That's it, Matt.
That's it.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I think a lot of builders would have got a lot out of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, thanks for having me.